It's time for a Devo tip. Well, of course, not everything Christians claim as persecution is really persecution. Yet it's not very helpful to trivialize marginalization either by claiming that it's not as bad as what other groups experience. If every form of oppression is compared to genocide, well, then everything would be dismissed, wouldn't it? One of the vivid snapshots in the Bible of Christian persecution is found in Hebrews chapter 10. There we find believers who had to endure a hard struggle with sufferings, sometimes being publicly exposed to reproach and affliction, and sometimes being partners with those so treated. They had compassion on those who were imprisoned, and they joyfully accepted the plundering of their property, since they knew that they had a better possession and an abiding one. In this passage, we find three forms of persecution. Let's look at it more closely. The first form of persecution is they were publicly exposed to reproach. What does that mean? Well, they had to endure verbal assaults aimed to damage their reputations. That gets rough, doesn't it? But notice they also suffered another form of persecution called affliction. Affliction can come in different degrees and in different ways, but in their case, they suffered from vandalism and unjust detention in prison. We could call it socio-economic oppression. And thirdly, notice the third form of persecution. They were partners with those so treated. They were viewed as accomplices, sympathizers, guilt by association, we'd call it. So how did the early Christians get to the point of joyfully accepting all forms of unjust treatment? Well, the writer of Hebrews tells us. He says, or she says, the better, more abiding possession of the age to come had become so real, so palpable to them, they could almost taste it. I like the quote from Edward Thurneson. He describes the world to come in this way. The world into which we shall enter at the coming of Jesus Christ is not another world. It is this world, this heaven, this earth, both renewed. It is these forests, these fields, these cities, these streets, these people that will be the scene of redemption. At present time, they are battlefields, full of strife and sorrow of the not yet accomplished consummation. But one day, they will be fields of victory, fields of harvest, where out of the seeds that were sown with tears will be reaped and brought home. You can fully and joyfully accept what comes your way, knowing what lies ahead in the age to come.